In a galaxy ruled by an oppressive alien force, a group of human captives unearth hidden powers that could tip the balance of power. Through unimaginable experiments, they discover abilities beyond their wildest dreams. Will these newfound strengths be enough to break their chains and ignite a rebellion? Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe and share your comments about the exciting end of the story, the Genetic Crucible. Let the story begin. The vastness of space enveloped the tenebrous confederacy, a sprawling empire clinging to the darkest corners of the galaxy. Planet Sondra, once a vibrant world teeming with life, now bore the scars of Tenebrian occupation. Alien machinery loomed over the landscape, casting long shadows over makeshift human settlements fenced in by energy barriers. Max Donovan stood at the barrier's edge, his eyes scanning the oppressive sky with a mixture of defiance and resignation. His fingers, calloused from years of labor, gripped the cold metal of the fence. "Today's the day," he muttered to himself. Sarah, a fellow human and noted for her telepathic abilities, approached him quietly. "I can hear your thoughts, Max. You're worried," she said, her voice soft and soothing. Max turned to her, his usually stern expression softened by her presence. "Must be easy for you, Sarah, hearing everyone's thoughts." "No privacy even in our minds," Max replied with a wry smile. "It's more of a burden than you think," she responded, gazing into the distance. "Besides, your thoughts are louder today." "They're still running tests on us, aren't they?" Max changed the subject, his tone sharp with impatience. "How many more experiments before they decide we're just lab rats not worth saving?" Jonas, another member of their makeshift community, joined them. He towered over both Max and Sarah, his muscles a testament to the Tenebrians' genetic modifications. "More testing means more pain," he grumbled, his deep voice full of frustration. Sarah sighed. "We have to find a way out of here. We can't just wait for them to decide our fate for us." Max nodded, his mind churning with plans. "Tomorrow, Jonas and I will scout the perimeter. We need to find a weak spot in their defenses. We can't keep living like this." Sarah agreed, but a shadow of worry crossed her face. Later, in the dimly lit interior of their encampment, Nina joined the group. She was slight compared to Jonas, but her mind was a powerhouse of strategy and knowledge. "Max, I've been analyzing their patrol patterns," she said, spreading a crude map on the table. "There's a window of opportunity here," she pointed to a section of the barrier. Max studied the map intently. "We'll need a diversion," he mused aloud. Jonas cracked his knuckles, a hint of a grin playing on his lips. "Leave that to me." As the group huddled over the map, the sound of approaching footsteps made them freeze. The heavy thud of Tenebrian boots resonated in the silence. Dr. Zeltar, the chief scientist, entered the room, his pale, angular face emotionless. His emerald eyes gleamed with cold interest. "You seem busy," Zeltar said, his voice a frigid whisper. "Planning something, perhaps?" Max clenched his fists and stepped forward. "We're surviving, Zeltar. Something you wouldn't understand. Survival through compliance. The Tenebrous Confederacy offers you life in exchange for cooperation," Zeltar retorted, his gaze unyielding. "Resistance will only bring you more suffering." Max's eyes burned with defiance. "We'll see about that." Zeltar's lips curled into an icy smile, and he turned away, his long robes trailing behind him. Once the alien had left, the group exhaled collectively. "They're on to us," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "All the more reason to act now," Max said, steeling himself. "We'll strike at dawn." That night, the silence of the encampment was thick with tension. Max lay awake, staring at the stars. Around him, his friends shifted restlessly, each lost in their own fears and hopes. This was their life now, a cycle of dread and determination, with nothing certain except each other. As dawn began to break, painting the sky with streaks of somber light, Max rose. He moved silently through the encampment, waking his companions. "It's time," he whispered. The air was electric with unspoken promises and the palpable weight of what lay ahead. They gathered at the map, finalizing their escape plan. Max looked at each of them, Jonas with his strength, Sarah with her telepathy, Nina with her brilliant mind, and felt a flicker of hope. They were more than just lab rats. They were a team, and together they could fight for their freedom. As the sky lightened, their resolve hardened. The barrier no longer felt like an insurmountable obstacle, but a challenge they could overcome. The first rays of sunlight brought with them a sense of purpose and the promise of a new beginning, one forged with their own hands. The morning air was crisp as Max, Jonas, Sarah, and Nina gathered near the edge of the fence. The encampment was quiet, the other humans still stirring from sleep or already resigned to their routine labor. Max's heart pounded as he clutched a makeshift device they had managed to assemble. A small EMP pulse generator Nina had devised from scavenged parts. Remember, once we disrupt the barrier's energy field, we have just minutes to get through before it resets. Nina reminded them, her eyes dark with determination. Jonas nodded, flexing his enhanced muscles. I can handle any patrols. Just give me the signal. Max took a deep breath and looked at Sarah. Are you ready? She gave a firm nod, her mind already scanning for any immediate threats. Nina activated the EMP generator, and a low hum filled the air. The energy barrier flickered and then fizzled out. Go! Max whispered urgently. They slipped through the gap, their movements swift and silent. Outside the barrier, the landscape was both eerie and familiar. Remnants of human civilization lay in ruins, overtaken by Tenebrian tech. Max led the way, senses sharp. Every crunch of debris underfoot sounded like a thunderclap to his hypersensitive ears. Patrol coming, Sarah hissed, her eyes distant as her mind reached out. To the left! Jonas moved without hesitation, pouncing on the unsuspecting Tenebrian guards with inhuman strength. They went down quickly, barely managing a cry of alarm before Jonas silenced them. Max and Nina hurried to strip the guards of their communication devices and keycards. We're in, Max said, his voice low but charged with excitement. Head to the central lab. Let's find out what they've done to us. Navigating through the labyrinth of alien technology, the group moved with growing confidence. Every corner revealed more intricate machinery, a testament to the Tenebrians' advanced science. Yet amid the cold metal and glowing screens, human suffering was starkly evident. Cells lined the walls, filled with groaning figures, each marked by a different experimental fate. Look at this, Nina whispered, pointing to a screen displaying a complex set of genetic data. These are the modifications they've been doing. Max stared at the screen, feeling a mix of awe and anger. They've transformed us into something else, something more, Jonas growled, clenching his fists. We knew that already. What we need is a way to use it against them. Sarah's eyes widened as she examined another set of data. Max, look at this. They're tracking our brainwaves, monitoring our psionic development. They know every move we make. We need to destroy this, Max decided. Wipe their records clean. No, Nina countered, her gaze fierce. We need to learn from it. If we destroy the data, we lose insight into our own abilities. We need this knowledge to fight back. Max took a deep breath, realizing she was right. All right, Nina. Download what you can, then we destroy the rest. As Nina worked on transferring the data, Jonas kept watch while Sarah explored deeper into the lab. Max could sense the weight of the moment growing heavier. The risk was enormous, but so was the potential reward. Minutes felt like hours until Nina finally nodded. Got it. Now for the fun part. She planted a small but powerful detonator on the main console, and the group retreated swiftly. As they left, the lab erupted in a controlled explosion, wiping out the central data hub. The return journey to their camp was fraught with tension. Each shadow seemed to harbor a threat, and every sound was a potential trap. But they made it back, slipping through the energy barrier just as it resumed its hum of power. Back in the safety of their enclave, the group gathered around Nina's portable device, now carrying the precious data. This is it, Nina said, her voice shaking with a mixture of fear and hope. We have the information we need. Max placed a hand on her shoulder. We did it. We finally have a weapon against them. Sarah, Jonas, and Nina all looked at Max. He felt the weight of their expectations and nodded firmly. They were no longer mere survivors. They were rebels, armed with knowledge and driven by the unbreakable human spirit. The first act of their rebellion was over, but the war had just begun. The atmosphere in the encampment had shifted. The success of the raid had injected a sense of purpose and urgency among the humans. Max stood in the center of their crude living quarters, addressing the gathered group, his voice steady. We have the data, he began, holding up Nina's device. But we need to be cautious. The Tenebrians will respond. Nina nodded, her intelligent eyes reflecting worry. We need to analyze what we have before they come down on us. There's a lot here. Genetic maps, psionic wave patterns. This could be our key to understanding and controlling our abilities. Jonas cracked his knuckles, eager for the next move. So what's the plan, Max? Just tell me who to hit. Max couldn't help but smile at Jonas's enthusiasm. It was contagious. First, we need to secure this place. Sarah, scan for any immediate threats. Jonas, I need you to help reinforce our defenses. Sarah closed her eyes, her face serene as she reached out with her mind. After a moment, she opened them, a frown marring her features. There's movement, more patrols than usual. They're looking for something. That would be us, Max muttered, his jaw tightening. All right, we need to fortify the perimeter. Nina, any ideas on how we can use our abilities to our advantage? Nina's eyes lit up with possibilities. We could create a psionic barrier. It won't be as strong as their energy fields, but it might buy us some time. Let's do it, Max agreed. Move fast, we don't have much time. While Jonas and Max worked on physical fortifications, Sarah and Nina focused on creating the psionic barrier. Concentration furrowed their brows as they pooled their mental energies, a faint shimmer forming around the encampment. The air grew tense as the day progressed. Max could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He glanced at his friends, each engrossed in their tasks. They had come a long way, but the road ahead was fraught with peril. As dusk approached, the first signs of trouble appeared. Tenebrian patrols, their forms dark and imposing, emerged from the shadows, cautiously approaching the camp. Here they come, Sarah whispered, her eyes glowing with a soft, psionic light. Max felt their determination as palpable as the cold evening air. Jonas took a step forward, muscles tensing. Time to put these new abilities to work. Max nodded. Stay close. We move as one. He focused on the approaching enemy, feeling a surge of defiance. Get ready. The first Tenebrian stepped into view, his emerald eyes locking onto Max. Surrender now, he commanded, his voice a chilling, inhuman tone. Max felt the power inside him, a fusion of rage and resilience. Not today, he replied, and with a swift motion he struck, his enhanced strength propelling him forward. The Tenebrians staggered, clearly shocked by the human's resistance. Jonas roared, joining the fray with unmatched ferocity. He dispatched enemies with brutal efficiency, his every move a testament to the genetic modifications he had endured. Nina and Sarah focused their psionic energies, forming a defensive barrier that shimmered and pulsed, repelling the Tenebrian energy blasts. Their combined powers created a dynamic and fluid defense, a testament to their newfound unity and strength. The skirmish was intense but brief. The Tenebrians, unprepared for the sheer force of the human counterattack, fell back, leaving the encampment guarded but victorious. Breathing heavily, Max looked around at his friends. They were bruised but alive, their spirits unbroken. We did it, he said, a note of awe in his voice. We actually did it. Sarah wiped sweat from her brow, a smile breaking through her exhaustion. This is just the beginning, Max. We've shown them what we're capable of. Jonas laughed, a deep booming sound. Let them come. We've got more fight in us than they can handle. Nina, her face flushed with adrenaline, added, and now we have the data. We can learn, adapt, and become stronger. Max felt a surge of hope and pride. They were no longer victims. They were warriors, ready to take their fate into their own hands. As night fell, the encampment buzzed with new energy. The first battle of their rebellion had been won, but the real fight was only just starting. Together, they would face whatever came next, stronger and more united than ever. Max stood at the edge of the encampment, staring out into the dense forest that surrounded them. The trees loomed like silent sentinels, their leaves whispering secrets in the wind. Beside him, Sarah was deep in thought, her eyes scanning for threats. Nina's still working on decoding the data, Max said, breaking the silence. We need to be ready when she finds something useful. Sarah nodded, her gaze unwavering. I've been sensing something off. It's as if the Tenebrians are planning something big. We need to stay alert. Just then Jonas approached, his strides purposeful. Perimeter secure, he reported. But I've seen scouts. They're looking for weaknesses. Let's not give them any, Max replied. We'll hold our ground. Nina should have answers soon. Inside the central tent, Nina was hunched over her device, her fingers flying across the interface. The glow from the screen cast shadows on her determined face. Max and the others joined her, their presence a silent testament to their solidarity. I think I've found something, Nina announced, eyes bright with discovery. She pointed to a complex series of genetic sequences on the screen. These modifications weren't just for enhancing physical and mental abilities. They unlocked something deeper. Psionic potential. Jonas frowned. Psionic potential? Like what? Like telekinesis, telepathy, even energy manipulation. They've turned us into living weapons, Nina explained, her voice quivering with a mix of fear and excitement. Max's mind raced. Can we control it? I believe so, Nina replied. But it's risky. We need to train to understand these powers thoroughly. Sarah stepped closer. We have no choice. If we don't learn to control them, the Tenebrians will use it against us. Then we start now, Max decided. We'll train, push ourselves to the limit. We need to be ready for whatever they throw at us. The following days were a blur of intense training and constant vigilance. Under Nina's guidance, the group began to tap into their psionic abilities. Sarah honed her telepathy, reading and influencing thoughts with increasing precision. Jonas discovered he could manipulate energy fields, creating shields and projections. Max focused on telekinesis, learning to move objects with his mind. Just focus, Max, Nina instructed during one session. Feel the object, not with your hands, but with your mind. Let your energy flow through it. Max closed his eyes, extending his senses. He imagined the small rock before him lifting, saw it in his mind's eye. Slowly, the rock began to rise, hovering in the air. Max opened his eyes, a triumphant smile spreading across his face. I did it. Good, Nina said, her own smile reflecting his pride. Now, let's try it with something larger. The group's progress was remarkable, but there was no room for complacency. The Tenebrians were relentless, increasing their patrols and pressure on the camp. One evening, as the sky darkened, Sarah sensed a significant threat approaching. They're coming, she warned, her voice urgent. A large force. This is it. Max felt a surge of determination. Everyone, to your positions. Remember your training. The Tenebrians emerged from the forest, their numbers imposing. At their head was Dr. Zeltar, his eyes glowing with malevolent intent. You cannot win, he sneered. You are mere experiments, nothing more. Max stepped forward, his voice steady. We are more than you could ever imagine. At his signal, the group unleashed their newfound powers. Sarah's telepathic assault sent confusion through the Tenebrian ranks. Jonas created a barrier of energy, deflecting incoming fire. Max focused, lifting debris and hurling it towards their enemies with his mind. Dr. Zeltar's eyes widened in surprise, but he quickly recovered, raising his hand and summoning a wave of energy. Max felt the impact but stood firm, drawing strength from his friends. We fight together, he said, and with renewed vigor, they pushed back. Nina's strategic commands guided their every move, turning the tide of battle. In a final desperate move, Dr. Zeltar lunged at Max, unleashing a concentrated burst of energy. But Max was ready. Channeling all his strength, he countered with a powerful telekinetic wave. The two forces clashed, a brilliant display of raw power. Max felt the strain, but he held on, pushing harder until, with a final surge, Zeltar was thrown backward, crashing to the ground. The remaining Tenebrians, seeing their leader defeated, retreated hastily into the forest. The camp was safe for now. Breathing heavily, Max turned to his friends. They were exhausted but victorious. We did it, Sarah whispered, a smile of disbelief on her face. We're just getting started, Max replied, looking towards the horizon. This is our fight, and we will win. They stood together, united in purpose and newfound strength. The victory was theirs, a testament to their resilience and courage. The Tenebrians would be back, but so would they, stronger and more determined than ever. The camp was buzzing with a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. The taste of victory was sweet but fleeting. Max knew their triumph over Dr. Zeltar was only the beginning. They needed more than just a temporary win. They needed a plan for lasting freedom. Inside the central tent, the group gathered once more around Nina's device. Your ability saved us, Max began, eyes shifting from Jonas to Sarah. But we need to think bigger. Nina's fingers tapped quickly on the touchscreen. I've decrypted more of the data. There's something important, a central command hub for the Tenebrians' operations. If we can shut it down, we could cripple their control over this sector. Where is it? Jonas asked, his voice a low rumble. Nina pointed to a map on the device. Here, on the other side of the mountain range. It's heavily guarded. We'll need to infiltrate it unseen. Max's mind churned with possibilities. We use our powers to our advantage. Jonas, your energy manipulation can get us through their barriers. Sarah, you can keep us one step ahead by reading their movements. What about you? Sarah asked, concern clear in her gaze. I'll handle the inside job, Max said, determination stealing his voice. Once we're in, we disrupt their systems from within. Nina will guide us remotely. There was a moment of silence as everyone absorbed the plan. Then Jonas spoke, his tone resolute. Let's do this. They spent the next few days preparing meticulously. Each member of the team trained relentlessly, refining their abilities. The camp had become a place of both hope and preparation, the humans now moving with a newfound sense of purpose. On the eve of their mission, Max stood alone at the edge of the camp, looking out at the distant mountains. Sarah joined him, her presence comforting. You're worried, she observed, her voice gentle. Max sighed. There's a lot at stake. This is bigger than any of us. But we can do it, she reassured him, her hand resting on his arm. Together we're strong. Max nodded, grateful for her unwavering faith. We'll make it, for everyone here. The next morning, before the first light of dawn, the group set out. The journey to the command hub was arduous, the terrain challenging. Yet their spirit remained unbroken. Max led the way, his senses alert to every rustle and shadow. When they finally reached the outskirts of the Tenebrian facility, they paused, assessing the defenses. Remember the plan, Max whispered. Jonas, disrupt the barrier. Sarah, guide us past the patrols. Jonas focused, extending his hands towards the shimmering energy field. With a grunt of effort, he manipulated the energy, creating a breach. Go, he urged. They moved swiftly, Sarah's telepathic cues directing their steps. They bypassed several guards, slipping silently through the shadows. At the heart of the facility, Max found a terminal. Nina, I'm in, he whispered into the communicator. Good, her voice crackled softly in his ear. Follow my instructions precisely. Max's fingers flew over the alien interface, guided by Nina's directions. Complex patterns of light and code danced across the screen. Almost there, Nina whispered. Just a bit more. Suddenly, alarms blared. We've been detected, Sarah's warning echoed in their minds. Keep them off me, Max ordered, his focus unbroken. Sarah and Jonas sprang into action, their combined powers creating a fierce defense. The air crackled with energy as Jonas deflected incoming attacks. Sarah's telepathic strikes sowed confusion among the enemy, buying Max the time he needed. Done, Max shouted, hitting the final sequence. The facility's systems shuddered as power began to drain. We need to get out now! They sprinted through the corridors, dodging frantic Tenebrian soldiers. The facility's lights flickered, and the once mighty barriers fell silent. Emerging into the open air, they didn't stop running until they were halfway back to the camp. Only then did they pause, gasping for breath. We did it, Jonas panted, a grin splitting his face. We actually did it. Max nodded, his chest heaving. This is just the beginning. We've dealt them a blow, but they'll come for us harder now. Sarah agreed, her eyes serious. We need to be ready. We need to rally more of our people. Max looked at his friends. No, his family. We will. We'll stand together and we'll fight for our freedom. The journey back to the camp was filled with a renewed sense of purpose. They had faced a challenge and emerged victorious, but they knew the road ahead was long. As the first rays of dawn broke, casting light over their camp, Max felt a surge of hope. They were more than mere survivors now. They were warriors, rebels with a cause, ready to reclaim their place in the galaxy. Together they would forge a future free from oppression, guided by their unyielding spirit and the bond that had made them stronger than any experiment could have ever imagined. This was their fight, and they were ready for whatever came next.